5 children. 1 remains missing. For 60 years, a mother begged for the location of her son's grave. Winnie Johnson died in 2012, never knowing where Keith was buried. This is the story of Britain's most haunting unanswered question. Pauline Reed's story begins on a winter's day in 1947 in Manchester. She was the first child of Roy and Liz Reed, and by all accounts she filled their home with laughter. Family photos show a girl with careful plaits and pink ribbons, always ready to help her younger cousins. Pauline loved to dance. On weekends, she would pin her prize-winning ribbons to her mirror, practicing steps she had learned at St. Anne's School. Her cousin Liz remembers Pauline's voice echoing in the kitchen, humming the latest tune she had learned from the radio. Evenings found her curled up with a book, or showing off a new hair clip, proud of her sense of style. Liz has said that Pauline was the sunshine of our home. She looked after us all, always with a smile. The loss of Pauline left a silence that never quite faded for her family. Every year her name is spoken at St. Cuthbert's, where candles are lit and her favorite sweets are shared among classmates who remember her as the girl with the pink ribbons and the warmest laugh. John Kilbride was born in Oldham in 1951, the youngest of 3. He was a boy who found adventure in the smallest things: a new comic, a game of football, or the sound of a train passing near his street. His brother, Terry, recalls how John would spend hours assembling model trains, lining them up with meticulous care, humming a tune under his breath as he worked. John's tartan socks were a family joke, a gift from his mother he wore with pride, even when his friends teased him. At school, teachers noticed his curiosity and quick wit. He liked to sketch train tracks in the margins of his homework, dreaming of journeys he might take one day. On Saturday mornings, John would race to the bus stop, the pattern of his socks peeking out beneath his trousers, eager to meet friends for a kickabout. Terry remembers that when he hears the click of a train wheel, he hears John's grin. The Kilbride family keeps John's memory alive with an annual model train charity run, a tribute to the boy whose imagination turned every day into a new imagination. Pauline and John were ordinary children, remembered not for how their lives ended, but for the joy and warmth they brought to those around them. Their families, year after year, have refused to let their stories fade. In the quiet moments, over a cup of tea, or the soft hum of a favorite song, their presence lingers, a reminder that these children were loved and are still missed. Keith Bennett was born in 1953, the second of 5 children in a close-knit Manchester family. He was a boy who loved to build, making block towers on the living room carpet and elaborate forts from old boxes in the backyard. His mother, Winnie Johnson, remembered the way he would concentrate, tongue between his teeth, carefully stacking each piece higher than the last. Keith's world was full of small, determined ambitions: to be the fastest in the schoolyard foot race, to finish his library book before it was due, to make his little brother laugh by pulling faces at the dinner table. He adored his pet rabbit, and on weekends could be found coaxing it with bits of lettuce, inventing stories about its secret adventures. Winnie once recorded her hopes for Keith, her voice steady but soft. He was bright, always talking, always asking questions. He should have grown up, had a family, lived a full life. Leslie Ann Downey was born in 1954, the youngest in her family. She was known for her love of music and her talent for ballet. At school, Leslie's favorite place was the art room, where she drew pictures of dancers and dreamt of floating across a stage. Her mother described the way Leslie's giggle could fill a room, a sound that lingered in the air long after she left. Leslie kept a scrapbook of ballet programs and pressed flowers, and she would spend hours practicing plies and pirouettes in front of the mirror, pink slippers scuffed from use. She once told her teacher she wanted to be a dance instructor, to help other children find the same joy she felt in movement and music. Each year, a scholarship in Leslie's name supports young dancers in Manchester, a living tribute to her grace and spirit. Edward Evans, born in 1948, was the eldest of the 5 children remembered here. He grew up in Sheffield, a tall boy with a quick wit and a love of poetry. Edward played rugby for his school team and wrote verses in the margins of his exercise books. His family recalls him as both sturdy and gentle, the kind of older brother who would walk his sisters home from school and help with chores without being asked. On weekends, Edward played guitar with friends, filling the house with music and laughter. He once recited a poem at a school assembly, his voice steady and proud, earning a rare smile from his usually reserved father. Edward's memory lives on each summer at a charity concert in Leeds, where young musicians gather to play in his honor. The stories of Keith, Leslie, and Edward are woven into the lives of those who love them. Their families remember not only what was lost, but what was shared, laughter, music, quiet moments, and dreams that still echo across the years. These children are not forgotten. Their names are spoken, their passions celebrated, and their memories kept alive by those who refuse to let them fade into silence. In June 1966, the Oldham Crown Court became the setting for a trial built on painstakingly gathered evidence from the moors. The prosecution began with physical proof that bridged the gap between the missing children and the bleak landscape where they were found. Among the first exhibits were black and white photographs of tire tracks pressed deep into the peat. These impressions, taken by police in late August 1965, matched the tread pattern of a blue Morris Minor owned by the accused. Forensic engineers testified to the exactness of the match, comparing tread depth and lug spacing with the car's tires. This was not a vague similarity. It was a direct link between vehicle and crime scene. Attention then turned to the testimony of Thomas Holden, a local shepherd with decades of experience on Saddleworth Moor. Holden described seeing a dark car near the ridge on a cold December night. His diary, submitted as evidence, recorded 2 figures moving through the mist, their boots leaving heavy marks in the wet ground. He recalled the unmistakable hum of a small engine and the way the figures paused, as if searching for a landmark. The reliability of his account rested on years spent tending sheep in the same area, and his details aligned with other witness statements. The court listened as Holden recounted the night's events, his words anchoring the timeline to a specific place and hour. Forensic scientists presented hair and fiber samples recovered from the shallow graves. One strand, found near Pauline Reed's burial site, matched a sample from her own hairbrush. A brown woolen jumper, its serial number traced to a local shop, was identified as belonging to Pauline. Microscopic analysis of the fibers confirmed the link, with the likelihood of a random match placed at less than 1 in 10,000. Laboratory reports were read aloud, establishing a chain of evidence from the victims' homes to the moorland graves. The prosecution also introduced maps drawn by the accused during police interviews. These sketches, though crude, indicated burial sites using rough distances from known features like the Big Birch and the Hollow. While not precise, the maps provided enough direction for police to concentrate searches on specific zones. The courtroom saw how these drawings, paired with physical evidence and eyewitness accounts, formed the backbone of the case. The defense argued that tire tracks could have come from any vehicle and that memories might fade over time. Yet the combined weight of forensic, photographic, and testimonial evidence left little doubt. The trial's exhibits, tire track photos, shepherd diaries, clothing fragments, and laboratory findings created a clear and unbroken link between the victims, the moor, and those responsible. This foundation would influence every search that followed, shaping the way investigators approached the vast, unmarked landscape in the hope of finding the last missing child. In the spring of 1987, Greater Manchester Police reopened the files on the moor, launching a new operation with one clear aim: to locate the last missing child. The team, led by Detective Chief Inspector Martin Bottomley, returned to the bleak expanse of Saddleworth armed with tools that had not existed during the first searches. Helicopters equipped with helicam systems swept low over the moor, capturing high-contrast aerial photographs. These images revealed subtle changes in the landscape, faint depressions, unusual patches of grass, and the shadowy outlines of old paths that had gone unnoticed for decades. Forensic officers pored over Brady's crude maps, overlaying them onto the new photographs. Magnetometers, instruments sensitive to the smallest traces of metal, were dragged across the peat, searching for shoe buckles, zips, or the metal clasp from a child's shoe that might mark a grave. Handheld, ground-penetrating radar units probed the earth, sending signals beneath the surface in hopes of detecting disturbed soil or hidden remains. On July 10th, after days of careful excavation near a double-trunk oak identified from both Brady's map and the aerial survey, the searchers found what they had hoped for: the remains of Pauline Reed. Her family received the news they had waited decades to hear. The grave was shallow, the peat compact and relatively dry, allowing the radar to pick up the subtle difference between undisturbed earth and the outline of a burial. Personal effects confirmed her identity, bringing a measure of peace to those who had never stopped speaking her name. The same approach was applied to the area believed to hold Keith Bennett, but here the moor revealed its most difficult secrets. The ground sloped sharply, and the peat was deep, over 3 meters in places, waterlogged and unstable. Each pass of the magnetometer produced false alarms, often triggered by old farm debris or natural iron deposits. The radar, which had worked so well in the drier patch, struggled to penetrate beyond 80 centimeters. In wet peat, the signal simply faded away, lost in the dense, saturated layers. The team marked out a grid and excavated by hand, but every trench yielded only peat and the roots of heather plants. Detectives and scientists debated the next steps. Some argued that Brady's sketch maps were too vague, the landmarks too changed by time. Others believed the right spot was still within reach, if only the right tool or clue could be found. But with budgets tight and the limits of technology clear, the search for Keith was forced to pause, unfinished. The operation had proven that the moor could give up its dead, but it had also shown how easily the landscape could hide them. The question of Keith Bennett's resting place remained, suspended between memory and the unyielding ground. The lessons of 1987 would shape every search that followed, driving the need for new methods and a renewed determination to bring a final answer to his family. Alan Bennett's life has been defined by the search for his brother Keith, a pursuit marked by persistence and a refusal to let the case fade into silence. What started as a family's private heartbreak grew into a campaign that drew in neighbors, police, scientists, and strangers who saw something of their own families in Alan's determination. His early letters to the Home Office in the late 1970s, written with careful hope, asked for renewed searches and answers that never seemed to arrive. Over time, those letters became petitions and public appeals, each one a reminder that Keith was still missing and that the search could not be abandoned. In 1992, Alan established the Find Keith charity, gathering a handful of volunteers and securing a grant to fund field surveys on Saddleworth Moor. The first fundraiser, a sponsored walk, brought together families, schoolchildren, and retired detectives, all united by a single hope. Alan kept meticulous records, mapped every search area, and built connections with forensic experts and local officials. His voice, steady and persistent, became familiar to those who followed the case. He said, "I can't give up. Keith deserves to come home." Collaboration with Greater Manchester Police became central to Alan's efforts. By 2015, the GMP Cold Case Review Team was working closely with him, inviting his input on every new phase. Alan attended briefings, shared family memories that might help narrow the search, and provided childhood photos for reference. The partnership was not always easy. At times, communication faltered or leads dried up, but Alan's presence remained constant. Detectives described him as both a source of insight and a reminder of what was at stake. In 2012, a letter from Ian Brady arrived from prison, offering the possibility of new information about Keith's burial site. The letter was vague, withholding details for legal and personal reasons. For Alan, it was another painful reminder of how close the truth could seem, and how quickly it could slip away. Still, he pushed the police to pursue every possible lead, refusing to let bureaucracy or cruelty have the final say. The campaign has adapted with time. In 2022, Allen launched a crowdfunding appeal, raising £30,000 in just 2 days to support new search efforts. The funds brought in specialist survey teams and new equipment for the moor. GMP responded with annual search plans, each informed by the latest advances. Allen's work has kept Keith's name alive, building a bridge between family hope and official investigation. The search for Keith Bennett now unfolds with a plan shaped by both science and the realities of Saddleworth Moor. It starts in the air, where high-resolution LiDAR scans, priced between £3,000 and £12,000 per flight, sweep the moor's surface. These flights build precise digital models, picking out subtle dips or rises, features that might signal ground disturbed decades ago. LiDAR cannot penetrate peat, but it narrows the search, transforming a vast, featureless landscape into a handful of sites worth a closer look. Next, drone-mounted thermal imaging comes into play. These flights, costing £1,500 to £4,000, are launched at dawn, when the ground's overnight chill can reveal faint temperature differences. Disturbed soil or decomposed matter sometimes holds heat longer, creating ghostly signatures invisible to the naked eye. While animal burrows or frost can mislead, this method has uncovered lost graves before, offering another layer of evidence. With surface clues mapped, attention turns to the ground itself. Teams deploy ground-penetrating radar and electrical resistivity tomography, technologies that probe beneath the peat, searching for pockets of compacted earth or the outline of a grave. A focused campaign with these tools costs between £8,000 and £25,000. Ground-penetrating radar works best on dry ground, but in the moor's wetter valleys, signals can fade. Electrical resistivity tomography, though slower, helps distinguish natural peat from disturbed soil, providing a crucial second opinion before any excavation begins. If a promising anomaly emerges, environmental DNA analysis offers a less invasive next step. Soil or water samples are tested for traces of human DNA, sometimes confirming the presence of remains after decades. This approach is less costly than excavation and can guide the decision to dig. Only when evidence is strong does the plan move to excavation, the most expensive and tightly regulated phase. Forensic archaeologists lead these digs, with budgets ranging from £10,000 to £40,000, depending on the site's size and complexity. Every phase requires formal consent. Saddleworth Moor is a site of special scientific interest, protected by law. Applications to Natural England must include ecological assessments and detailed plans to minimize disturbance, a process that can take up to 3 months. Funding is phased, with grants, police budgets, and private donations supporting each step. Through careful, accountable science, the search advances, each survey bringing memory and discovery closer together. Today, the search for Keith Bennett continues, not for justice against the perpetrators, but for the dignity and peace every family deserves. Advances in forensic science offer hope, yet the moor remains silent. For the loved ones left behind, closure is not a memory. It is a promise unfulfilled. Some questions outlast a lifetime, but remembrance ensures they are never forgotten. Thank you for bearing witness to their story.